Hello and welcome to In the Light, Growing Your Soul with me, Anna Isabel. I'm an analytical hypnotherapist as well as a psychological astrologer. And I am so happy because today I am joined by John Gilbert, who is one of three founders of, I think, one of the most exciting projects I have ever come across. And it's called Community Assembly of the British Isles. Hello, John.
Hello, Anna.
John, please tell us, what is the Community Assembly of the British Isles?
It's upside down governance because, for instance, if you get the ordinary members in the different areas, let's say, let's take down here, for instance, at this end of the neck of the woods, and let's say we've got somebody in St. Austell. So the people in St. Austell actually run the community assemblies because they make the decisions that will affect the rest of us. So just one small group in one small area has the ability to change the whole of the community assemblies because their information gets transmitted to everyone else. So you get the members who are at the top of the pile. Underneath them are the facilitators. Underneath them are the regional facilitators. Underneath them and a few more layers down, you get to me, which I'm the big spelly. I just, you couldn't get lower than I am. So the only thing that I can do is to action the wishes of the people themselves. But I do have a remit, and over the years, because of actions that we've taken, I have been given permission to do certain things. But if it goes outside that remit, I have to ask the members to vote on it. I can't do anything other than that. And we just did that recently because we've set up the assemblies of the world now with other groups in other countries. So I had to ask permission for that.
So if I'm understanding correctly, this is about self-governance.
It is.
It's about allowing people people to form communities so that they join together and decide together what they are going to do for the benefit of all.
Yeah.
So it's self-governance, and that's what it is. It's self-governance. And then these different groups are connected with other groups, which you've acted kind of to bring together in a network.
Yeah.
And the network itself has a life of its own because everybody within the network learns from each other.
Yes, exactly. Information gets passed. It's also a highly spiritual organization as well, because almost, I would say at least 80% of the people in the community assemblies are spiritually motivated. So they, a lot of this is to do with messages that people have been given over the years. We put all these messages together because we think that everybody's got a part of the puzzle, and unless you get as many people as possible all talking to each other, you'll never put the puzzle together. I'm rubbish at puzzles anyway, so I mean that's I let other people do that. But the whole point of this is that it's not just material. If we're going to live the lives we want to live, it has to be more than just material. So we have to all connect together in a spirit which is much, much higher frequency than we are used to living to.
So I think one of the things that interested me listening to you in another interview with the wonderful Richard Vobes was hearing you talk about how self-governance is really about following natural law. And if I wasn't already excited before that, hearing what you were doing, I certainly got more excited again listening to this idea, because self-governance is good if we're following natural law. So I think it would be good to explain to the audience what natural law is.
Okay, natural law just gives you 4 rules. actually, in truth, it really only gives you two. But if I put it down to, let's start with do no harm. And then you go on to cause no loss, commit no fraud, and keep the peace. Now, first three really could be lumped into one, do no harm. The last one, which is keep the peace, means that you are empowered and have to, having taken the declaration, you have to keep peace. So if you see some poor schmuck on the street getting beaten up, you have to do something. You can't just sit there and film it. You have to do something. And if those people that are beating that person up are too numerous, then what you have to do is go and get help. You're charged with doing that, or at least trying to stop them or talk them down or do something. The power of word helps, but it helps if you've got, if your frequencies are high, it gives you a power that is hard to turn away. So natural law is all about you doing something. You don't hand your power over to, okay, we have a peace service, but you don't turn your power over to the peace service. The peace service are there to protect people and properties, nothing more. That's why they're called constables. They're there to do that. And the power lies with the people all the way through. So if you're do no harm, you've got to start thinking for yourself. Because if you don't think for yourself, you're not going to get this right.
If you don't think for yourself, you are handing power over to others. And this is the dire mess in which we currently find ourselves in society, because we have been taught to acquiesce always to a supposed higher authority, which supposedly has our needs at heart, and it most obviously never has and never will have, because it is pandering to the lower instincts of people. So this does not work, cannot work, and repeatedly in history has ended up with the majority being abused by a few.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are in this situation yet again. And what we're saying is it stops now.
Yeah.
If we think about something very simple, the pandemic, when in history were people told to leave the sick alone? When in history have doctors refused to actually see patients when they're ill? And I can remember clients feeling like they were in terrible moral dilemmas of one kind or another in that period, and saying to them, what's the humane thing to do? And hearing their answers, which came from their hearts, and saying to them, do the humane thing. And that is natural law.
Yes.
Because if you are doing the humane thing, then what you are doing is you are listening to your heart. And we get into trouble when we stop doing that, because we are not listening to our higher instincts. We are trusting somebody else when we know in our hearts what the humane thing to do is. So when you were talking about natural law, that's my interest grew, because that's different from man-made, because man-made is inevitably at times going to be flawed, because we are flawed.
And you can't adjust to every single situation. You can't write it down on paper and say this will do for every single situation, because it will not. This is why natural law, you have to use your own judgment. A simple one, like that, the amount of times that I've said, people have said to me, are you going to bring down the government? Hold on a minute. If we were to bring down the government, there's a lot of people that want to stay within that system. We're denying them their rights to do it. All we want to do is take ourselves out of that system and say, this is the way we want to live our lives. Those who want to come with us, do so. Those that want to stay in the old system, do so. So that's where common law really starts to show up, because you have to stop and think, am I doing people harm? You can't do it that way.
Yeah.
Am I going to keep the peace? Yes. I'm going to step up and keep the peace. Let's go for what we really need to do, because people are just. I think people are ready for a change. At least a hefty amount of the population are ready for a change.
So when we're talking about using our own judgment, it's safe. People aren't going to be running amok, because the judgment always comes back to, is what I'm doing of harm?
That's it.
And if the answer is yes, then you stop and you don't. If there is none, then you continue. And that is about living a peaceable life and getting on with other people and being in harmony with others, and also taking care of our planet and all that is within it, which means being respectful. So if that's what you're talking about, you have these amazing community initiatives, community health initiative, peace service, law courts. But the one that I thought would be most interesting to talk about today would be what you're calling the Light Brigade. So tell us about that.
They call themselves the Light Brigade. The term we have been given is the Aurora Network. It's about to say, this is not about charging the Russian guns. This is about people working in light. And we all have a certain frequency. Everybody on the planet has the same frequency. Whether you use the frequency or not is up to you. The decisions you make enable you to make your to progress your climb up into spirituality. So if you put blocks in the way of that, if you say, look, I'm comfortable at this level, I don't want to move any further, that's your choice. That's the level you will stay at. If you want to keep moving higher, your frequencies keep increasing, and you start to push out. We call it pushing out the light. I suppose really you're pushing out the waves of frequency, because when people get together, it just increases exponentially the amount of energy that you push out, and that can go out over the whole world. In fact, it can go further than that. So this is all sort of, people say, right, these are ideas. If you look at the string theory, that's exactly the same. Quantum physics, exactly the same. We are energy beings. Energy is connected. We need to start using this energy properly. And the Light Brigade is people who have achieved exceptionally high frequencies, who can interpret information, whether they're getting it from downloads or whether they're getting it from other people. It really doesn't. They can interpret information and relay it to others, and they can strengthen other people as well. So we have a thing called, we call it a pineal cleanse, but in actual fact it's not. It's an energy cleanup, and people can actually do certain things which are quite. We can't do it to anybody else, by the way. We can't interfere whatsoever. only in a certain way. And that's what the Light Brigade does. It's a bit like if you're walking down a country lane and there is a whacking great high wall in front of you, which you can't get over, and you can't see around. And so you can't continue on your journey. And then as you're looking around, you see that somebody's put a ladder down beside you. So you pick up the ladder, you climb over the wall down the other side. We can put the ladder there, but we can't knock down the wall or give somebody a boost over, because it's got to be their choice. And that's basically what the Light Brigade is about. It's about helping other people. We all have different things. You've seen me yourself using rods to gauge people's frequencies. Yeah, I can do that. We can help people increase their frequencies. There's a couple of us that can do that. Others are learning now. But there are other people who can channel. We've got a lot of people there, but when you put all of it together, it starts to become very, very powerful. And this is basically how the organization runs, because we have this ability to actually, okay, some people can see auras, some people can see frequencies, some people can, there's one, some people can actually taste frequencies. It's just as valid. Doesn't matter what the sensation is, it's just as valid. And they are always right. So yes, that's the Light Brigade. The Light Brigade is there to help other people gain in their spirituality, gain in their frequencies, achieve something higher. When we achieve enough frequency, when we get high enough, when we've got enough people, then everything starts to change. And you start to leave this, people are calling it a matrix, people call it an illusion. We start to leave it up and we start to head towards our own sort of, some people call it timelines. There's timeline upon timeline upon timeline upon timeline. And you can move, even with the conversation that we've got now, we can actually move ourselves from one timeline to another where it might suit us more to be on that one. And if a lot of people have the same conversation, what you get then is you get a lot of people starting to move. And that's where you actually get, it starts getting excited. People talk about moving into 5D, the fifth dimension. It's just choosing a different area, that's all, to be in. Here's one I had the other day when I went to meet somebody. I went into a cafe. I could not see them for life of me. I thought, well, they haven't arrived. And then I heard somebody calling my voice. I was standing right next to the table where they sit in and I couldn't see them. They'd shifted. So they had to come back down to my level in order to be able, because I'm a, El Thicko here. I couldn't actually see them. And it was wonderful, because that was confirmation that things like that can happen.
So I think for the average person, what we're talking about is living or embodying a more spiritual existence.
Yes.
And we begin by actually questioning and using critical thinking to assess where we are. So am I happy with my life at this moment in time? What can I do to improve it? So this is the stuff of my therapy sessions. But then going beyond that, am I happy being part of this system, which I have invested my entire life into, but at this moment in time is no longer suiting me. I'm exhausted, I'm not well, I'm anxious. How can I creatively step away from this and begin to change into a more holistic way of being? And that's where the assemblies come in.
Yeah, you start, the first starting point is natural law. Your starting point on any journey is natural law. Once you accept that you're going to take control of your own life because you've got certain rules that you have to follow, and then you're going to have to start making decisions for yourself, that starts to bring your spirituality up because you're making decisions. You're moving forward, you're increasing your frequencies. And as you do that, so you can go from one thing to another thing to another thing. So we all have the same potential. Every single person on this planet has the same potential. There's nobody higher than anybody else. You just got to use your initiative, you've got to use your want to do something. You've got to go and do it yourself. It's the same, we can't interfere. If anybody's welcome to watch Star Trek, you can't interfere with another planet just because you want to bring them up. They have to do their own developments and they have to ask for their own things. So we have exactly the same. We don't say to people, look, come to us and we will increase your frequencies. No, a person makes the decision to phone us up. They've made that decision. Once they've made that decision, here we go. Now we can start to do something, but they have to make the decision themselves. They have to find that ladder and put it up against the wall and climb over it. And once they've done that, then you've got the whole earth starts to climb in frequency.
Because we all have to assume responsibility for ourselves and for our actions. And that's also about active engagement with our lives. Mm-hmm. So you were talking about not just passing by when somebody is in trouble.
Yeah.
When you talked about, people filming somebody being attacked, which always horrifies most of us, the thought that people could just stand there doing that and not actually doing something to actively help the person who's in distress. So this is about active engagement. And I think what I see as a therapist is that sometimes people just become numbed because they're so overwhelmed by the level of expectations and commitments, whether it's, paying a mortgage and feeding a family, or being in a very high-paid job and not knowing how to be out of it, even though they know that it's eating them up. There's so many different dilemmas. And the point at which I see them is the point at which they've actually started to question, because they have no choice, because they are so deeply anxious or ill, whatever the reason is. And always it comes back. So this is where my experience kind of dovetails nicely with what you're describing, because I know that people's mental health and spiritual being depends on switching on the brain, coming out of numbness and becoming engaged.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Honestly, if you want to keep, okay, you have to work at things. I have to go out, and I go out, and every other morning I go for a 10K run. On mornings that I'm running, I go into the gym for an hour. You have to keep your body right. I have to eat the right foods, organic foods. Okay, the more expensive. Here's the rub. Organic foods are cheaper to produce, yet they're more expensive in the shops. But actually, if you eat organic foods, you actually eat less. So they become cheaper. So my food bill is actually less than it would be if I was eating normal foods, which is what normal foods, that's not normal, is it? Which are so devoid of nutrients that I have to eat a lot more in order to be able to make this work. So all of this sort of thing, all these decisions that you have to make in order to, in the Bible, it says, I believe it's something like treat your body like a temple. which you have to do, and your mind has to come the same way. You have to, if you treat your body and your mind right, then everything starts to flow. Things no longer matter. Fear fear doesn't happen anymore. What can make you afraid? What can they do? I'm not sure. I haven't come across anything. I haven't thought of anything yet where people can make me afraid. But it's keeping everything right. I mean, I'm at the grand old age of 72 now. So maybe I shouldn't be doing all the things that I'm doing, but I enjoy going running. My running speeds actually back down to where I was when I was in my 40s. So I've not changed. Do I need to? I don't know. Come on, let's have something here. Let's get everybody together and get something going on this one.
Well, I think that if you are doing 10K runs, and that's impressive enough if you're doing it on a regular basis, let alone at 72. So you have to be doing something right. And I think this is the point, is we do need means by which we can live more fulfilling lives. And what I love about the concept of what you've started is that this is acting as a facilitating means to help people to do exactly that. And it's by bringing people together as well, so that everyone is working to support each other. And we know that working together in groups or in communities that are supportive hugely helps individuals to thrive. So communities need individuals, individuals need communities. And that's because we are social beings. We need each other.
You know that when you put a group of people together who are on the same plane, if you like, they're all, they might be learning from each other, but they're all interwoven with each other. They're a group. When you put people together like that, you can walk into a group that suffering from hip pains or knee pains or whatever. When you walk out, you haven't got them anymore. The pain goes. And it just goes to point that to show that we need to be in groups. We need that social interaction. We need to help each other. We have that need, that want to help each other. And once you start to release that, all other things start to disappear. So this is what we're trying to do on the community assemblies. This is where we want to. We've got a lot of. It's not just community assemblies, by the way. They've got a lot of other people that are putting their tuppence worth in, because this isn't just our group talking within itself. We've got other groups as well, which we have regular interviews and regular meetings with. We're all heading down the same way now.
We are, and I am constantly excited by the initiatives that I am coming across of groups of people coming together to do something that's more meaningful. And so for those of you who are out there feeling very alone and feeling that the world is becoming very hostile, look around you, because you will find that huge numbers of us have said, no, we're not doing that. We're not going down that road. We're doing something different. There's the wonderful People's Farming Alliance that's come across, the People's Health Alliance as well, which are now linked. And so there's wonderful work that's happening because many people are gathering together to create. I think this is a grassroots movement. And maybe a year ago, I was seeing the shoots just coming, but it's really beginning to flourish now. So there is no need to feel alone and to feel that the world that we know and love is being taken away from us, there is a great, wonderful resistance movement that's happening. And what makes it beautiful is that it is based on principles of love, peace, and togetherness. And I think on that score, I would say you could do no better than to check out the Community Assembly of the British Isles website. John, would you give that out, please?
The web address is if I can, you put me on the spot here, haven't you? It's www dot CA, that's Charlie Alpha, then the minus sign or dash, and then BritishIsles.com.
Well,
they'll tell me if I got that wrong, won't they?
Well, I'll be putting a link to it in the description box. So if you've written it down and it's not working, do just go to the description box where you will find the link, because I'd like everyone to learn more about this wonderful work that you and your co-founders are doing, and everybody that's a part of these assemblies. So thank you so much, John, for taking time to speak to us today.
Can I put a caveat in there?
Yes.
Okay. If people want to join the community assemblies of the British Isles, because they can still use the website even without joining. If they want to join, we need to know that they want to start assemblies up themselves. So you don't join if you're all you want is information and you don't want to actually do anything. If you want to do something, then you join.
And can people find if there's an assembly near them?
Yes.
Okay.
And when they actually join up, we try to pair them up with other people or put them into assemblies that already exist. And we've got about, out of the regions of the British Isles, we've got about 25% of them now have actually set up assemblies.
Good. So that's the way forward. You may be wanting to start something up yourself. You may want to join something that's already existing. The idea is that you are participating, and I think that's what you're saying, is that this is a movement in which everyone participates. Again, it's about that active engagement. So don't be shy and have a look at the website and see what you can do today. So thank you very much, John, for your time.
Thank you, Anna.
And thank you all for watching. Next time, we're going to be looking at Hermeticism. Until then, goodbye.